Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite as well as WWE NXT for May the 20th, 2020. We have Double or Nothing, the pay-per-view, this coming Sunday from AEW. If you haven't checked it out already, we did official predictions from hashtag Team NoDQ. We did have a new match announced for Double or Nothing. I will talk about that here in a few minutes. We also have some matches set for NXT TakeOver in your house. Stay tuned for that. Shout out to the chat room. Thank you guys for tuning in live. Thank you to everyone watching, whether it's live or on demand. Let's get started with the recap of AEW Dynamite. We had a preview video for Double or Nothing. We had a limousine arrive with the Inner Circle. Brief promo talking about how they plan to beat up the Elite. The announcers did bring up Shad Gaspard, and I would like to offer my condolences to his family and friends and fans. Unfortunately, Shad's body was discovered early in the morning hours Wednesday after being missing for about 2 days since Sunday evening, Pacific Coast time. Very tragic and sad story. My heart goes out to, again, his family and friends and fans. Let's try to get this on a more positive direction. Talk about some AEW action. We had Jon Moxley up against 10 from the Dark Order. Brody Lee came out and cut a brief promo before the match. He had 10 take a knee and talked about how he has to win to satisfy his hunger. We had this match between Moxley and 10. Moxley won fairly easily, hit a spike pile driver, followed by the paradigm shift. After the match, Moxley grabbed a couple of steel chairs. He was going to break the arm of 10 unless Brody Lee came out there and corrected the mistake. Brody appeared on the big screen and said that Moxley has made this personal and everybody has to make sacrifices, and he left. Brody Lee took off, did not come out there and I guess give back the championship to Moxley. So Moxley said, screw it. He smashed the chair into the arm of 10. Sucks to be 10, that's all I got to say. TJS with a $5 super chat says, should AEW have saved the brawl at the end for the pay-per-view? They have a $50 show to sell. Sorry to go off topic. I'm about to watch NXT and then on demand. I think what AEW did at the end was perfectly fine. So I will talk about that here in a few minutes. I did not have any issues with what happened at the end. Tony H with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Tony. He says, RIP Shad, sad story, and this might be my least anticipated AEW title match to date. Not sure how I feel about it. The problem, of course, number one, no fans. Number two, it feels rushed. But as I've talked about before, I feel like AEW was backed into a corner because of the circumstances. And this was the best match to do with the way the timing worked out. I mean, who else would face Moxley at this point? You got Brody Lee, who had some momentum over the past several weeks, so why not? But yeah, I think ideally it would have been better to save this for down the line. I suppose AEW could have done Chris Jericho versus Jon Moxley in a rematch and then done Brody Lee at the next pay-per-view. But it is what it is, and I'm sure whatever they do, it'll be fine. It'll be a good match, and I'm sure even in defeat, Brody Lee will look strong. Hey, maybe he'll win the title. Anything's possible, right? Again, if you guys want to hear the predictions, check out the official No DQ predictions video. We had MJF versus Marco Stunt. The crowd, basically the wrestlers at ringside and the limited crew members there, they were very much behind Marco Stunt. Marco got manhandled by MJF, but he did make a little bit of a comeback despite Wardlow even getting involved, despite MJF being in control of the match. However, it wasn't enough. MJF did pick up the submission victory with the armbar. And then after the match, MJF cut a promo saying that he wants to give Marco a present. He wants to give Marco a kiss from somebody. However, because nobody in their right mind would ever touch Marco Stunt on the lips, MJF had a different kind of kiss for Marco, and that's a kiss from the ring, the Dynamite Diamond ring. And basically what happened was MJF punched poor Marco with the ring. Jungle Boy came out to make the save. Of course, this Saturday on pay-per-view, it's Jungle Boy versus MJF, and we even had a little bit of a tease, Luchasaurus and Wardlow. We had Jake the Snake Roberts and Arn Anderson in a face-off. This was almost like a contract signing minus the contract. You had the big, long table there. Jake Roberts said he doesn't want any excuses when his man Lance picks up the victory, and Cody's going to find out the truth that Lance is a mean son of a bitch that is going to rip Cody's heart out. Arn Anderson responded by saying Jake is such a smooth talker that Jake almost made a believer out of Arn. But Arn knows what Jake is all about. Jake has the snake out there, and that's the distraction. The real danger is the man, Jake the Snake Roberts. And Arn Anderson brought up Mike Tyson, saying it's an honor to share the stage with Mike Tyson, and Jake the Snake was not so respectful of Iron Mike, basically saying that he promised Lance that Lance could get the first shot at Mike Tyson. Lance Archer really wants to knock out Iron Mike Tyson. Now I feel like Lance is going to get punched out at the pay-per-view, but we'll see. Maybe Jake does, although I'm not sure Jake can even take a bump, or if he should be taking a bump, even if he wants to take one. And Jake even took a little shot at Brandy, saying that he was hoping she, Bimbo Brandy, as he referred to her as, would present the belt. Arn fired back and saying that Cody has to win this match. He's not just the son of Dusty. He's one of the leaders of the company. He's the one that has made the product what it is. And then Arn basically called out Jake for a fight, saying that Jake has been doing DDP yoga and he's going to shove Jake's head up where the sun doesn't shine. Jake got very upset by this. He tipped over the table, and we had a tease here between these two guys fighting, but the referees broke up everything and kept them apart. Pretty solid stuff from these guys. I mean, Jake, great promo. Arn held his own. It was fun. I mean, it was almost to the point where I'd rather see these guys fight than Cody Rhodes and Lance Archer. But it was good. It was good stuff here. Darby Allin did a little video package. They were playing a card game, him and a bunch of guys wearing cutout faces of the Casino Battle Royal participants. And Darby put all the chips in and then climbed up this ladder, and there was fire shooting up the ladder. It was pretty cool. We also had Pac, who has not been on television since the pandemic started. He's in the UK, and there's the whole travel ban. But he did a little promo cheering on his Death Triangle partner, Phoenix. I actually forgot that these guys were a faction. That's how long it's been since there's been any development with this team, that it pretty much became Death. But Pac did remind us that there is a faction and Phoenix is going to take care of business, take care of Orange Cassidy, and finish what Pac started at the Revolution pay-per-view. We had Orange Cassidy versus Phoenix. Pretty solid match between these guys. The thing about Orange Cassidy is people see the gimmick on the surface and they're not a fan of it, but Orange Cassidy can go. You know, he starts off the match doing his shtick. He puts the hands in the pockets. But then when the match takes a serious turn, Orange Cassidy turns it up and gets into high gear. And the match was really solid. I enjoyed it. We had several near falls. Kip Sabian then came out with a ladder. And even in AEW, see, people say, hey, if you're going to knock WWE, you got to knock AEW too. Stupid babyface moment where Sabian climbs up the ladder, and of course, the babyface, in this case, Orange Cassidy, gets distracted. Phoenix hits a cutter to pick up the win. And that's when all hell broke loose. SCU came out. They tipped over the ladder. Sabian fell into the ring. Jimmy Havoc came out. Everybody was fighting. People were doing dives over the top. Phoenix did a dive and nobody caught him, and he crashed and burned on the floor. It was complete chaos. Orange Cassidy got in a dive and then did the big Orange Cassidy thumbs up to do the final salute before the pay-per-view this Saturday. Gonna be a crazy match. Like, I hope nobody gets seriously hurt because just in this little sequence, these guys were doing some crazy ass shenanigans. We had a tag team match. Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida against Britt Baker and Nyla Rose, the AEW Women's Champion. And of course, this Sunday, it's Shida versus Rose for the title, and Chris Statlander versus Britt Baker in a one-on-one match. Now, this match was pretty strange. I'm hoping that Britt Baker did not legitimately get hurt, because there was a spot in the match where the babyfaces took Nyla Rose and tossed her into the corner into Britt Baker. And I looked back on the clip and pretty much all of Nyla's weight landed on Britt's knee. And Britt was out of the match after this. You had the trainer come out to check on her, and the match felt like it was falling apart. Like, I really wasn't sure what was going on here. And I was very confused by the finish of this match, which was Nyla pinning the number one contender, Shida, with the Beast Bomb. I'm not sure how you build up your number one contender by having her lose on the go-home show. Now, maybe that means Shida's going to win the title, but then we had more after the match. Britt was still out of this, by the way. Nyla Rose went for a table. She set it up. She put Shida on the table. She was going to climb up the top and do a move, but then Statlander stopped her. Shida got off the table and went up top, did a superplex to Nyla Rose through the table, basically getting her heat back after losing. And I guess now Shida has some momentum despite the loss heading into Saturday's pay-per-view. So I don't know what's going to happen on Saturday. Maybe we'll get a new champion, maybe not. I predicted Rose to retain, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, again, Britt Baker's okay and she'll be able to do the match. Jon Moxley cut a promo backstage and just basically said things are just going to get worse for Brody Lee at Double or Nothing. Brody Lee's going to go to sleep, and then the Gimps are going to have to take care of Brody and help him lick his wounds and all that stuff, and help his bruised ego. Hamp Kano with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. He says, who do you think is the mystery opponent in the casino ladder match? We did talk about this on the predictions video, so in case you or anybody else missed it, check it out. It's up on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. I threw this out. Maybe it'll be Drew Gulak because he's a free agent. He could theoretically show up. A lot of guys that people have been speculating on. Keep in mind, there's the 90-day non-competes in WWE, so people like Rusev are not going to be able to show up in that match. It could end up being a disappointment. I'm hoping it's somebody interesting, though. Gulak would be very interesting, fresh off of his SmackDown match with Daniel Bryan. That would be pretty cool. We had Shawn Spears do a new segment called Shawn Spears News. And one of the headlines was Dustin Rhodes retiring finally. And Shawn said it's a bitter pill to swallow, although for Dustin Rhodes 12 years ago, swallowing pills wasn't so difficult. Ouch. That was a harsh comment there. That was savage. Shawn Spears then brought up how he doesn't have a match at Double or Nothing. And maybe he needs to go into business for himself. So he challenged the so-called retired Dustin Rhodes to a match at Double or Nothing. And it was confirmed. That match will happen on the pay-per-view. And I guess if I'm going to make a prediction, I say Shawn Spears wins. Dustin doesn't really need the win. Although I feel like Shawn Spears is not doing much, so wouldn't shock me if Dustin did pick up the victory. But I'll go ahead and give it to Shawn. Tony H with a $2 super chat. Thank you very much, Tony. He says, Shawn Spears news is a gold gimmick. Hope he keeps it. Yeah, he might. Although, as Ken Terminated by Google pointed out in the chat, it kind of reminded me of the Randy Orton news segments from way back in the day, like 2002, 2003. Randy News Network. Although you could say that was so long ago. I mean, who cares if it's a knockoff? We had a video package of the Stadium Stampede, and they showed footage from the street fight a couple weeks ago. You had Sammy Guevara talking about it, Matt Hardy talking about it. Sammy was upset because it was attempted murder when Matt used that golf cart to run him down. And then we had our main event, Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. Pretty solid match between these guys. And I guess Michael Wayne was the first one to bring up the Randy News Network. So proper credit to Michael Wayne on that one. Good match here. Good main event between these guys. Matt was unable to put Sammy away for a while. He hit a twist of fate. Sammy kicked out. Sammy hit a springboard cutter, got a near fall. But eventually Matt hit the twist of fate, 1, 2, 3, to pick up the victory. And then after the match, Matt got a steel chair. He was going to use it on Sammy, but then Chris Jericho appeared on the big screen. He was in the stadium with the Inner Circle. They kidnapped Kenny Omega, and they were about to take him out with a bat. But then all of a sudden, the Young Bucks made the save. First time on Dynamite in about 2 months. They made the save with steel chairs. There was this big brawl. Matt Hardy finally arrived, and they were all fighting. And then all of a sudden, from across the stadium, you had Hangman Adam Page make his return for the first time in about 2 months. He ran all the way across the stadium, 100-yard dash, hit everybody with lariats, and after a brief standoff, the Inner Circle retreated, and the Inner Circle, they backed off. The Elite celebrated. Their logo was showed on the big screen, and Adam Page walked off, so he's still teasing that he's not fully on board with the Elite, and that was our final segment. I liked it. I know TJS wondered if maybe they gave away too much, but I thought it was well done. Solid AEW show. Far from the best AEW Dynamite, but it was good. It was a good show overall. DJ Whitty or Whitey, I always forget. I always screw it up. I never know if it's Whitey or Whitty. $10 super chat. Thank you, DJW. I'm just going to call you DJW from now on, so that way I don't mess it up. Yo, Aaron, why are you guys deciding to do the predictions video before the go-home show? Anything on the show change your mind on your predictions that you made last night? Very good question there. Actually, two good questions there. Regarding the predictions, Tuesday night is an open night. Tonight I'm obviously doing this. Thursday night we have the No DQ review. We talk about other topics. Friday, SmackDown, and then Saturday's the pay-per-view. So I'm like, nothing going on Tuesday. Tuesday's now the designated predictions video night. As far as changing predictions, I was thinking about, should I go with Shida? But I'm still going to go with Nyla Rose to win. And overall, I think I'm just going to keep my predictions for Saturday's show. But the good thing about Double or Nothing is I don't feel like there's any one match that's really 100% concrete predictable. Like even Moxley and Brody, I would not rule out Brody Lee winning the title. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does happen, I will not be shocked or anything. Nick Glavin with a $2.79 super chat. Thank you, Nick. Says Hangman Page looking like Charles Robinson at WrestleMania 24. That was a classic segment. Charles Robinson running all the way down across that stadium to try and make that 3 count. Now that was some good crap, pal. All right, let's move on here to NXT. We had a graphic for Shad Gaspard, and I'm hoping he'll get like a video package. I don't think we saw one on NXT. I would like WWE to do an actual video for him on SmackDown. I think it would be really cool. The guy, I mean, even if he didn't have the biggest run in WWE, which he didn't, Crime Time, they were a fun mid-card act. They had about a 3 to 4 year run, but they were never top tier as far as the tag team division goes. The guy was, from all the things I've heard about him, a great human being. And you hear that story about the armed robbery that he prevented. He stopped back in, I think, 2016. He even talked about in the interview how he wanted to make sure everybody else was safe and he'd rather stand up to the guy than run away and get shot in the back. And then, of course, the story about him, his final words before being swept away in the rip current, telling the lifeguard to save his son. Like, such an honorable guy, such a likable guy from everything people have said about him. I hope WWE does something really cool for him, more than just a graphic. My take on it, I think most of you would feel the same, though, that they should do more for him. More than just a graphic. So anyways, we opened the show with Karrion Kross. Quick victory over an enhancement talent. I did not catch the name. And then after the match, which was only about 2 minutes, Tommaso Ciampa came out. He introduced himself, and he said part of him respects Karrion Kross for what Kross did. He said, in the entire NXT locker room, Kross stands out. He's got a killer entrance, no pun intended. And then he got into the ring. Scarlett held the ropes open. What a nice lady Scarlett is. And then Ciampa issued a challenge. June 7th, NXT TakeOver in your house. Ciampa versus Kross. And Ciampa finished off the challenge by saying, "Welcome to the main event." Guessing it's going to be the main event. I mean, this is a pretty big match. I'll do my predictions for it when we do the video, but I cannot see any other result here than Kross winning. And quite frankly, I think Ciampa should move to the main roster. Lose to Kross, go to the main roster. I know he said in interviews he doesn't want to do it, but Raw and SmackDown need some star power, and they need a good call-up, not somebody who hasn't been established. Like, as good as Austin Theory is, he's got no name value. Ciampa's been in NXT now for 4+ years, 4 to 5 years, and I think he's done everything there is to do in NXT. I think it's time to shake things up and get Ciampa to the main roster after this takeover. Just my opinion, though. I know some will disagree with it, but I think it's time. DJW, thank you for that, DJ, with another $5 super chat, says, "I don't think Crime Time has enough memories to have a video package, do they, Aaron?" I'm sure WWE can come up with something and show other footage of him just being a good dude. Talk about the armed robbery, perhaps. That sort of thing. And DJW said, with all due respect in regards to Crime Time. I mean, Crime Time did do a storyline with John Cena, so they can show that. And show, as they do for the tribute videos, they could show all the tweets. Maybe show the clip of MVP and Shad crying together when Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship. That was really cool. And I don't think that's ever been broadcasted on WWE TV, so maybe do that. Caleb Jacobs with a $6.34 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. Says Ciampa should have Goldie. It's been done. He had his run with Goldie. I still think it's time to move Ciampa up to the main roster. And not bury the guy either. Like, Ciampa should be pushed as a top guy. Build him up for Drew McIntyre or build him up for Braun Strowman. Get him to the main roster. Maybe by SummerSlam, Ciampa challenges for a world title on one of the two brands. That's my opinion. I think it's time for Ciampa to go to the main roster. We had our Cruiserweight match, El Hijo Fantasma versus Akira Tozawa. Hopefully I pronounced those correctly, or at least close to correct. Tozawa hit a senton, but then Fantasma rolled to the outside of the ring, and Fantasma ended up picking up the victory with the Phantom Driver to not only win, but win his side of the tournament, the B side, the B bracket, whatever they're calling it, Group B. So it'll be Fantasma against the winner of Group A to determine the next Cruiserweight champion. Pretty solid match between these guys, as you would expect from them. We had Tim Thatcher cut a promo talking about how he enjoyed what he did last week, and he wants to go one more time with Matt Riddle. He says he wants a match where pinfalls don't count and you can only win by knockout or tap out. He said Matt Riddle could pick the place, he'll be ready. Pretty solid promo here from Tim. We had a Shotzi Blackheart video package, which was a little odd in my opinion. She was in her tank. She was driving her tank around, and she was taking shots at the other women. And she said if any of them get in her way, they're going to get crushed. I was not really feeling this one. I don't know. Just wasn't cutting it for me. I mean, the tank's kind of cool, but DX did it better. Again, just my opinion. We had Mia Yim versus Santana Garrett. Mia won the match pretty quickly. Almost a squash match here. And afterwards, Tommaso Ciampa and Candice LeRae came out. Cut a promo on Mia. They mocked her, mocked the chants for her. Candice said that Mia dropped the ball in her opportunity to win the NXT Women's Championship, and Candice said she would have loved an opportunity at the title. She got into the ring. There was a brawl between the two ladies. Gargano got involved, and that's when Keith Lee made the save, helping out his real-life girlfriend, Mia Yim. Looking like we're going to get a mixed tag team match. Maybe a takeover. I'm not sure if... I don't think there was any official announcement about it, but that certainly seems to be the direction now, or it could just end up being two singles matches. This was pretty good stuff here from these guys. You know, Gargano and Candice. I like their heel act right now. We had a Cameron Grimes promo gloating about his victory over Finn Balor from next week, which of course was with the assistance from Damian Priest. We had Kushida versus Drake Maverick. And before the match, Drake cut this promo talking about how Kushida is the best wrestler in the world. Pretty bold statement there. And Drake said, admittedly, that he's not Bret Hart. He's tired of second-guessing himself, however, and he's going to do one thing, and that's win. And we actually did not have this match right away, so I'll get to the match in just a few moments here. Paul sent in a $5 super chat. You know what? Let's just talk about this match right now. Kushida versus Drake Maverick, because Paul has a $5 super chat in regards to this match. Kushida versus Drake Maverick. Jake Atlas, who is one of the other people in Group A, was watching at ringside to see who might be his opponent for next week. Drake Maverick was in a lot of trouble in this match. Kushida was working over the arm. Referee asked Drake if he wanted to submit. Drake refused to quit. He kept screaming no. He screamed, "Don't stop it," to the referee. He managed to get his foot under the rope when Kushida had the submission on. Kushida then got a cross arm breaker on, but Drake somehow managed to counter this into a roll-up to score the perhaps upset victory for the 1-2-3 when his back was against the wall. The odds were stacked against him. Drake Maverick somehow pulled off the miracle victory to stay alive in the tournament. Now, because Kushida, Drake Maverick, and Jake Atlas are now all tied in this tournament, we had Byron Saxton come out and announce that, according to William Regal, because of the three-way tie, there will be a triple threat on next week's show, and the winner will go on to the finals. Paul Mead with a $5 super chat, as I was alluding to just a few moments ago. He says, Kushida was screwed. His shoulder was up the entire 3 count. I'd have to go back and watch that. Maybe you're right about that. But I like the story of the match. I like Drake Maverick screaming at the referee and, the whole storyline of Drake being released and playing up on it. I thought this was really well done. The whole story with Drake and him needing to win this match to basically keep his job. The Game is on 100 with a $2 super chat. Says, got COVID, couldn't watch for 2.5 weeks back. I am very sorry to hear that. Game is on 100. I'm happy that you're doing okay, though. Welcome back, and I hope you stay healthy. And again, sorry to hear that. That sucks. And Mark Matthews with a $2 super chat says, Jake needed Drake to win, turning heel next week? Maybe. I mean, that would be an interesting twist. I mean, if there was ever a time to do a heel turn like that, that would be it. To screw a guy out of his job. I like that. And Phantasma's a babyface. I think you need a good heel versus babyface match here. And you basically got Kushida, who's a babyface, Drake Maverick, who's a babyface. So, yeah, I like that. Drake Maverick getting screwed out of his job. Jake Atlas maybe cheating to win or something like that. Great idea. I really like it. I definitely approve of that. And next up here, now I got to backtrack a little bit, so I'm going back a few segments. The legendary Mike B sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Mike B. He says, I just wanted to say it is an honor to be part of the No DQ Galaxy. Thank you very much for that, Mike B. And he says, I hope to meet you one day, Aaron. R.I.P. Shad. I think you might have brought this up before about meeting. Where are you located, Mike B? I think I asked you this question already, so I apologize if you did, and I don't remember your answer. But let me know. We will do a meetup someday. It's just a matter of when we're able to do it safely, which may not be. You're right, Mike B. Buffalo. I remember you saying that. So again, my apologies. We will do it. Because I've been to Buffalo a couple of times, not too far from Detroit. So I will make it happen next year, if at all possible. All right, where are we at now? Let me back up here a little bit. This was a few segments back. We had Roderick Strong versus Dexter Lumis. And I was a little surprised here. Strong picked up the victory. I guess you could call it an upset. After the match, Lumis put a submission on Strong on the outside of the ring, I guess, to get his heat back. Kind of reminds me of AEW Dynamite, Shida losing and then doing the superplex through the table to get her heat back. Undisputed Era, Adam Cole tried to make the save, but then Velveteen Dream came out. He threw Cole over the barricade and then climbed to the top rope, did a flying elbow all the way from the top across the barricade onto Cole. And this was edited. This was clearly an edit. He probably dove onto a crash pad, and then they showed the edit of his elbow landing on Cole. So I guess this feud continues, and maybe Dream wins it at the TakeOver. We'll see. Got a $5 super chat here from Hamp. Thank you again, Hamp. I appreciate it. He says, Charlotte Flair always looks like she wants to speak to the manager. That's a good point there, Hamp. And we'll talk about Charlotte here in a few minutes. We'll get to that shortly. Backstage, or should I say out in the parking lot, we had those masked Lucha Libre guys try to abduct Akira Tozawa. I still don't understand this gimmick. If you're going to rip off something from TNA, why do you rip off the ninjas that tried to abduct Samoa Joe? Actually, I think they were successful. I try to forget that angle, but yeah, I'm not feeling this one too much. Like I just don't understand where this is going or what these guys are doing here. Again, maybe I have to let it play out and not rush to judgment on it. As somebody out there will say, shut up and enjoy it. You like it, damn it. DJW with another $5 super chat says, no matter how you say my name, Aaron Rift, it's all good, my friend. You still the GOAT analyst of the wrestling in my eyes, buddy. I appreciate that, DJW. Thank you so much for your continued support and viewership. And hopefully we'll get to meet one of these days. I might have to take a longer trip than Buffalo, New York, but got time, hopefully, and I'll make it happen one of these days. Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch picked up a victory. Pretty quick match over the Team Everwise. Double submissions to win this match. And then in their post-match celebration, they mocked Imperium's pose. So I guess these guys are going to be building up some momentum heading into whenever they get an opportunity at the tag team titles. We had Keith Lee cut a promo backstage, said he doesn't care what the Garganos think about him, and he said he has a problem with the new Gargano way, and it's going to reach its limit at TakeOver, which again, is this a mixed tag team match or a one-on-one match? It sounded like a one-on-one match to me, but I would not mind seeing a mixed tag. Although they could end up doing the mixed tag on not TakeOver, but on the TV show next week or 2 weeks or whatever. We had Matt Riddle respond to, excuse me, guys. When I talk for almost 40 minutes straight here, I start to lose my voice, but we're almost done. Matt Riddle cut a promo, and he accepted the challenge, and he said they should fight in an environment that both of them are familiar with, a cage. So next week, it will be a cage fight. Matt Riddle versus Tim Thatcher. Are they going to do a Lion's Den? I would kind of like to see a Lion's Den match. The fact that they said cage fight makes me think it's not going to be a traditional wrestling steel cage match. I would not mind them bringing back the old Lion's Den cage that Ken Shamrock fought Owen Hart in. That would be pretty cool. We'll see what they do. That's next week. I'm a little surprised they're not saving it for TakeOver, but there you go. Cage fight next week on NXT. And then we had Damian Priest cut a promo, talked about how he has a desire to be champion, and he brought up Finn Balor. Balor's a target, and he sees Balor as an opportunity to eventually get a title opportunity. He said that Finn Balor put NXT on the map, but now Priest he's targeting Balor, and at TakeOver, Balor's name will turn to ash, and Damian Priest's name will live forever. Solid promo here from him. And then we had our main event of NXT, Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley. They ended up fighting out on the outside of the ring, and that's when Charlotte Flair showed up. And Charlotte ended up interfering in the match, hit a big boot to Io, and then attacked Rhea Ripley, held up her championship. Kind of a flat ending to the show, in my opinion. I think AEW had a way more compelling end to the show and main event as well. I mean, Io and Rhea had a fine match, but Charlotte coming out there, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I thought the AEW stuff was way more intriguing. But I will say the beginning of the show, I felt like Karrion Kross held my interest, and Ciampa coming out, that held my interest more than Brody Lee and Jon Moxley. So in that sense, I give NXT the upper hand. I think when it comes to the two head-to-head segments, I think Ciampa and Kross did more for me than Brody Lee and Moxley. So that's it for the recap of both shows this week. Both shows were fine. And I guess I would give a slight edge to AEW, but to me they were very neck and neck this week. TR Sega with a 200 yen super chat, thank you TR, says, your thoughts on Owen Hart's Dark Side of the Ring. Really emotional, like the Benoit episode, which was a two-parter. This was very hard to watch. As far as how informative it was, I mean, there was really nothing that I did not know already, which was very similar with the Benoit documentary. Still, it's something I would recommend watching, especially if you're not that familiar with the Owen Hart story. And I think this reinforces the idea that Owen Hart is not going to go into the WWE Hall of Fame. Not only did Martha once again bring up that she doesn't want Owen going into the Hall of Fame for WWE, Owen's son, Oj, also said that he doesn't want his dad going into the WWE Hall of Fame. So I don't think it's going to happen, guys. I really don't. And maybe this will put the talk to rest for good. Overall, I really enjoyed the Dark Side season. I've watched pretty much every episode. I think the only one I've missed up to this point is the New Jack one, but I plan on watching that sometime this week. Very good series, so if you got Vice TV, check it out. And if not, find a way to watch it. I know some of the episodes pop up on YouTube. Definitely worth checking out. DJW with another $10 super chat. Thank you, DJ. I really appreciate it. He says, AEW has got to do a screwy finish with the Mox and Brody match, because if Brody loses clean, I would lose a little respect for him and the Dark Order overall. I don't mind Brody losing, just not clean. Yeah, the thing with that, though, is fans are putting down $50. This isn't a $10 WWE Network special. This is a $50 pay-per-view with no fans. Again, this is why I feel like AEW backed themselves into a corner here. Maybe they could have done something different. The timing sucks for them, but I think Moxley has to win clean. I mean, it's got to be a clean finish in my opinion, because I think if you do a DQ, people are going to be upset when they're spending $50 and they're not getting a decisive winner. You could go with the shocker and have Brody Lee win clean. But my feeling is Moxley's going to win. Moxley's going to keep the title. He'll eventually face Jericho in a rematch. You still got that you got to do. So Brody Lee winning wouldn't even make sense unless they do a title change and then Moxley wins it back before Jericho gets a rematch. But you would think at some point Jericho and Moxley are going to have one more match. And then, as I've mentioned, down the line, MJF versus Moxley for the title. I think MJF should be the guy to win the title, not Brody Lee. So whenever the match was going to happen, Brody Lee versus Moxley, I would go with Moxley to win. However, I do think maybe this match was too soon. But again, circumstances were not really the best for AEW, and they just kind of went with it. So that's all I got for tonight. We'll be talking more about AEW tomorrow night on the No DQ review, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. You guys can chime in with your thoughts and opinions. Please spread the word. Tell a friend about the channel. And I wish everybody the best health-wise. Stay safe. Stay positive. And I will see you guys next time.